martial law, like, has that been invoked in DC? Like, what is happening? Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany Janae, and in today's video we are going to talk about how Donald Trump has now invoked the federal government or the National Guard to take over DC or assist with the DC Police Department for the next 30 days. So let's get into it.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now.
Well, Donald Trump has declared a crime emergency in Washington, D.C., and now the Metropolitan Police Department in D.C. is now under federal control, and now there's like a federal takeover. And so it has been crazy. And so, like, a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about all of this, right? There are a lot of people who are arguing crime is at its lowest within the last 30 years in DC. But then there are people who are saying, well, those are the crimes that are being actually reported. What about the crimes that are not being reported or they can't find? I'll figure out what's happening.
In Washington, D.C., homicides are down 32%, robberies are down 39%, armed carjackings are down 53%, assaults with a dangerous weapon are down 27%. In Washington, D.C., the rates of burglaries and assaults with a dangerous weapon are at their lowest point in 30 years. Nevertheless, because he's so tough on crime, President Trump today deployed hundreds of National Guardsmen and women into Washington, D.C. Send the U.S. military to become the police force in Washington, D.C. The lead in the Washington Post tonight, quote, President Donald Trump announced today that he is placing the D.C. police under direct federal control and will deploy the National Guard to the streets of Washington, an extraordinary flex of federal power that strips city leadership of its ability to make law enforcement decisions and could expose residents of the nation's capital to unpredictable encounters with a domestically deployed military force. A domestically deployed military force.
You know, things that so it's just like a lot of discourse in regards to like what Donald Trump has done in DC. And so I'm thinking, what I'm hearing is that he wants to also expand this federal takeover in other major cities such as Los Angeles and in New York and, you know, places like that, that he's claiming that the crime is just so out of control that the federal government needs to come and take over for about a month just to sweep the streets, just to clean up the homelessness or the unhoused people and the drug distributors and things such as that nature.
We're about to go on a run here through DC and show you what it looks like now that the Trump administration has sent in the National Guard and federalized our police force. Didn't even get to start the run. I'm on my block.
We've got police right here. This is Border Patrol, and then these are some unmarked vehicles as well as more Border Patrol.
Now following that group of cars, we're about 4 blocks in. All right, just got to Union Station. Here is what the scene looks like. Kind of a weird scene here, but we've got 3 of these military trucks sitting behind me. Now I'm headed in the direction of the Capitol. There's a bunch of whistles blowing, as well as a bunch of sirens coming up the street, it sounds like. I'm not sure what building this is, but it turns out it's megaphones and pots and pans, and they're trying to disturb whatever building this is. Just to be 100% clear, none of these videos are meant for like fear-mongering. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I just simply want to show you what it looks like and obviously draw your own conclusions. I'm not here to necessarily put out a narrative, but at the same time, if there is something that is blatantly obvious and a threat to people's safety and other DC residents, I'm going to call it out in the video, even if it's my opinion. I just circled back to head back to Martin Luther King Jr. Library now that it is shut down to see what happens. And in front of me, I have about 8 agents along with police
We got Border Patrol, Secret Service, Homeland Security Investigations, and one that just says federal agent.
Get the fuck out of my city! Your brother never loved you!
There's a group of Border Patrol and MPD behind me. They just stopped 2 men for smoking weed, which to my knowledge is legal in DC. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. Just in the few blocks that I walked alongside those federal agents, the number of scared reactions that I saw from people of color that were walking just down the street minding their business was insane. Just to give you an example, a black mother and her son was walking down the street. The second they turned the corner and saw the agents walking towards them, she immediately grabbed her son's hand and told him, when you see these people out here walking around, you're gonna hold my hand because I want them to know that you're mine and you're not out here causing trouble because we don't want any trouble with them. It was truly just so disheartening to see. I'm popping by the White House right now just to see if there's any protests going on. Not much going on, just seemed like tourists. I'm at the George Washington University campus now. There was heavy presence here tonight. Not so much anymore. There's a couple individuals hanging out by some of the tents that are normally here, so I'm gonna go see what's being said there. So this is right here in front of some of the tents here at Washington Circle by GW campus. Again, I don't necessarily want to show faces, but one person was picked up here by a shelter van that took him to a local shelter as opposed to being surrounded here in Washington Circle by a bunch of federal agents. It sounds like there's a lot of confusion between the different agencies and who's in charge of what. For example, at that location, DC police was putting up a bunch of notices on all the tents, letting people know that they do have to leave the area eventually. Some agencies showed up and honored that and basically moved on with their night. Sounds like some of the other agencies would show up and basically ignore the notice and start asking people, hey, do you have somewhere you can go right now? You gotta go. It wasn't forceful, but I'm sure it's definitely causing some confusion amongst the unhoused people here. I was just in Wawa and 2 DC police officers were in there talking to each other. I listened to them as they chatted amongst themselves when they realized that they got the official notification that they are allowed to ask immigration status of people that they detain. They looked at each other and immediately shook their heads, and then one of them said, that ain't my job. That just tells me that the police here even feel like it's an overreach. All right, now that's all I got for tonight, so good night.
But a lot of people are very upset, but then there are a lot of people who are in DC, a lot of black people, well, some black people, mostly black people for what I've seen, that are like, no, if you're not from DC, then you can't talk about like what's going on here. We need this because babies are being unalived and there's so many crimes that are being committed that's not being reported, and we need this police presence or this federal police presence. So who are you to come in my city and tell me what we need and what we don't need?
DC is fine. You know, it's nothing wrong with DC that doesn't happen anywhere else, you know, in the States. Just their presence is good if the DC police need assistance, but I don't think they need the National Guard. I've been robbed. I'm a legit citizen. I've been robbed and everything. So some cities are worse than DC, and the crime rate has gone down.
And the young people, they are kind of out there. I don't know what their problem is, but they getting kind of outrageous. That's in D.C. and in Maryland and New York, everywhere.
He's just starting here, okay? He's not going to end with here. Let him know that he is going against the vast majority. Crime in D.C. is at a low, and he's using that for an excuse.
His accusations that crime is on the rise is baseless. I think it was one of the Doge folks that got mugged, and he's using that as this catalyst to militarize DC, which is insanity to me. Insane overreach. It's completely unnecessary.
I think this is a way for him to take control of DC like he's been wanting to do. Crime has been down. Of course, you're going to take precautionary measures. You're going to make sure that you know, vigilant about, you know, where you're walking and what's going on around you. But it's, you know, it's just the thing about living here.
Right, but then you have some people, the white liberals, who I've mainly been seeing, it's like, no, we don't need the police or the feds here, like, it's making us uncomfortable, da 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 da. I've seen videos of like a homeless lady saying like they're very friendly, they haven't bothered me, like, you know, they're just doing their job, making sure people are not distributing narcotics.
Be careful, everybody! These 2 fucking punks are up to no good!
This lady just came out of absolutely nowhere. She started yelling all sorts of things. She didn't even know what that guy got arrested for. Meanwhile, as we were walking, I'll show you guys right now, we walked past a bunch of homeless people. They weren't arresting just the homeless people. They could have came by and taken the homeless people off like the news has been saying, but no, they arrested the guy that was selling the drugs to the homeless people. Have they came by and tried to take you guys off the streets?
They've been respectful.
They've been respectful?
Yes, they have not been aggressive or anything.
Wow, that's good to hear, because they just took off a drug dealer from the streets.
That's all they want. All they want is the drug dealers off the street and the people who die. That's all they want.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trying to buck with the homeless.
they want the drug dealers and the guns off the street.
Yeah.
You can't tell everybody that, but all they want is the guns and the drugs. They already found that out. They came to jump out the same way. All they want is the guns and the drugs off the street.
So what have the law enforcement said to you guys coming through here? Because that lady just came here, she was yelling all at the police, but meanwhile we just saw them arrest a drug dealer, and she's yelling at, saying they're taking away the homeless people.
To us. They didn't say anything. They walked by respectfully. They didn't give anybody any issues. I don't have a problem with law enforcement.
And should people be angry that they just took a drug dealer off the street?
No, it shouldn't be. I'm happy that DC is being cleaned up. And I'm not going to blame it on racism or anything.
Did that lady wake you up?
Of course, it's a disturbance because she was provoking on purpose. And, you know, you always got people out here, they say they're for a cause, but, I mean, it's almost 11 o'clock at night. It's very peaceful. The police don't have sirens going or anything else, and they were just decently speaking with people, but there's always people that will try to cause a problem deliberately.
Well, we hope you have a great rest of your night and fall asleep well.
I hope so, too. I hope she doesn't come back on that blowhorn.
Yeah, I know. She was a little angry, right?
So, well, I've seen a slew of videos, right? And so, how I feel about all of this is that I'm not in DC, right? But I know for me, I would not want heavy police presence in my neighborhood or my area. I would not want the National Guard walking around in my town. You know, I just wouldn't. It will make me. It will give me a level of feeling uncomfortable, thinking that I'm living in, and I live in a really good town. So, but it would give me the sense or the feeling that I'm in an unsafe environment, which is why we have this heavy police presence, right? Even like when there's situations like when I'm out and about, and I have like when I was in law school in the city I was living in, and it was around the holidays, and it was a robbery at a store that I was in. But it just like outside of that, right? Just the police presence, like just surrounding the area, I was just really scared. Like I got out of the store before the robbery happened. It happened like the second I walked out the store, so I'm blessed. But like, I was sitting in my car and the police came really quick, and it just gave me a level of like, yes, I'm happy the police is here and doing their job, but also it also makes you nervous because it feels like why are there so many police around, especially with people who are not accustomed to having a police presence all around. It can give a level of uncomfortability. So I know for me personally, I would not want the National Guard in my neighborhood or in my area or in my town, but I live in a relatively good town, so I'm not in DC. So I can't necessarily speak to that, but I do know it's giving fascist behavior. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there, right? Because is there really a true emergency of crime that's happening in DC, or is this kind of being like jumbled up for the federal government to have more control? Which is interesting for me to say, right? Because usually Republicans or conservatives like less government involvement, and the fact that we have a Republican president who is enforcing more federal government involvement in this very liberal city, right, is very interesting to me. And so I know a lot of people are just kind of like, the Democrats never have a solution when it comes to like getting tough on crime, or not necessarily even getting tough on crime, but like fixing the issues. And so people are saying Donald Trump has a solution, and he's putting his solution in place to fix the crime-ridden areas, the drug-ridden areas, the unhoused or homeless issues that are happening in DC. So it's just like, let them cook. Let's just see like what happens from this. Yeah, I mean, to each his own, you know. I don't live in a big city, so I just know I wouldn't want that. It just is unsettling. But people who are in DC know what's good for their town. So if they are in the belief that they need this heavy police presence and they feel like it's going to do them justice, then so be it. But I do see some people, mainly white liberals, that are like, oh no, you know. But the black people in DC are saying, no, we need this. And so I know I said at some point in this video that I think this is some sort of overreach in power and has some elements of being a fascist. And so like I pulled up an article from The Guardian that I'm gonna like read bits and pieces from to kind of support that statement that I said, and just give y'all some facts of like what is actually going on in regards of like this whole thing. Because at this point, I believe about 800 National Guards have been deployed to the city of DC. And so the issue, right, with fascism is that this is a term coined by Robert Paxton called mobilizing passion, right? And so basically it's a book that he has that talks about fascism and being in fascist governments and things like that. And so it's just basically state that there's always grave threats lurking around every corner, and only fascist violence can restore order to a lawless world, right? And so, but then what they're saying is that Donald Trump doesn't really have any true justifications for his policies, and most of them are just based on lies, right? And so this is just a reach for the government to have control. More control, federal government to have more control, basically. The Guardian states that the total crime for 2024 was at an all-time low. We talked about that. He said it was down by 35%, and that this is the lowest it's been in 30 years. More specifically, 2025, it's even lower than that, right? So the thing is, like, the reason why, in my opinion, Trump is doing all of this is to exercise more control, have more federal presence and control, a level of control over the people. But I'm not in DC, babes. Some people say they need it. And they say Donald Trump has a solution and the Dems never have a solution. So we'll just see how this goes, because a lot of people, right, my concern is that from history, a lot of black and brown people are going to be unfairly targeted.
How y'all doing today? Y'all staying in that trouble? You got your ID on you, chick?
Well, no, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
It's a cigarette. Did y'all get a call or something about right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like Code 3, anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside, right? Most people know that. Right? So we're contacting people, trying to advise them of the law, so they learn, right? And then if there's other stuff going on where it turns into there's multiple agencies of somebody, there's a shooting and things like that. So there's extra hands there as well, right? So we're just out here trying to inform people and educate people. It's not like we're trying to just go grab people and ruin someone's life over a joint or something like that, all right?
I only asked because when you walked up, at the moment you walked up, you only had eggs.
Yeah, well, it smelled like the odor of marijuana, burnt marijuana in the air, right? And you're the only guy that had something lit in your hand, and I didn't flashlight you, so I didn't realize it was just a cigarette. So that's on me. I appreciate you understanding and not getting chippy. All right, so just know, right? Learn, teach, tell your boys, like, yo, everybody's out, from FBI to park police. Right? So do your thing. Let them know. Don't be smoking outside. Don't be drinking outside, because Donald Trump is tired of it. People come to visit.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know smoking in public?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the arrestable offense.
Because in Maryland, it's recreational use, so I didn't know.
Yeah, so DC is recreational use as well, right? But you can legally possess up to 2 ounces. You can gift an ounce to your boy, right? So if you had 2 ounces and he said he needed a zip, you can give him a zip, but you can't smoke outside.
But I don't think that has happened. I might have seen one video, but that's just what I would think it would happen, but we'll just have to see. Alright, you guys, my name is Brittany Janae. That's all I have for this video. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye. It's Brittany Janae, and I have something super duper special to share with y'all. I now have memberships on my channel. How exciting. Oh my god, I know, I'm super excited. So if you join my membership, it comes with exclusive perks, you guys, with behind the scenes content, videos that I will only upload first for my very exclusive members, and evergreen content that I cannot post out here on YouTube because of Google or YouTube policies, right? So hit the join button and figure out which tier you want to join and what fits you best. And let's continue to grow this community. I am forever grateful, humble, and I'm excited. Let's get it!